Okay, picture this. You're relying on a critical financial lifeline, right? And suddenly it's just cut off. Why? All because you clicked the wrong button, or maybe you got confused about gross versus net pay. Look, navigating Indiana's unemployment system can absolutely feel like walking a tightrope without a net. But don't worry, because today we're diving into the ultimate reporting playbook to help us master the whole system. Welcome to this explainer. Let's figure out exactly how to report your work and earnings accurately, with zero risk to your benefits.
So, here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the basics of Indiana unemployment, then move into the eligibility and earnings rules. After that, we'll walk through a step-by-step reporting guide, highlight some common mistakes to avoid, talk about the consequences of getting it wrong, and wrap up with some crucial resources and a quick disclaimer. All right, part 1. The basics of Indiana unemployment. Right off the bat, ask yourself this. Do you actually know how to keep your unemployment benefits safe week to week? Because honestly, it is not just a set it and forget it deal. Nope. It's an ongoing weekly process that demands total accuracy.
$390. That is the maximum weekly benefit amount in Indiana right now. And let's be real. For a lot of families, that money literally means keeping the lights on. The stakes are incredibly real here, which is exactly why getting this reporting right is absolutely crucial.
Let's break down what this program actually is. The Indiana Unemployment Insurance Program is a joint federal-state system, and it's funded by employer payroll taxes. Basically, it provides temporary, partial wage replacement for folks who find themselves out of work through no fault of their own. The absolute keywords you gotta remember here are temporary and partial. It's a bridge, really, and to stay on it, you have to prove you're still continuously attached to the labor force.
Moving right along to Section 2, Eligibility and Earnings Rules.
To even open a claim, Indiana puts you through a bit of a financial math test. You've got to have earned at least $4,200 during what they call your base period, and $2,500 of that needs to be in the last 6 months alone. On top of that, your total base period wages have to be 1.5 times greater than your highest earning quarter. Phew! Oh, and if you pass all that, you still have to be able, available, and actively looking for full-time work every single week.
Now here is the #1 trap people fall into. When you're reporting your earnings, the golden rule, seriously, write this down, is to always report gross wages. That's your pay before any taxes are taken out, not your net take-home pay. And this is huge. You have to report that income in the exact week you actually did the work, regardless of when your boss finally hands you the paycheck. When earned, not when paid.
But wait, what if you pick up a part-time gig while you're hunting for a full-time job? Well, Indiana actually encourages this. They have something called the earnings disregard, and it brings us to a surprisingly helpful number, $100.
Here's how that works. Under the current guidelines, if you take part-time work, the state completely ignores the first $100 of your gross weekly earnings. It doesn't count against you at all. But any earnings over that initial $100 are deducted from your weekly benefit amount, strictly dollar for dollar. It is a fantastic way to supplement your income, as long as you're reporting that gross amount perfectly.
All right, Section 3, Step-by-Step Reporting Guide.
Okay, Step 1 actually kicks in right after you apply. You have exactly 10 days from your initial application to register on indianacareerconnect.com, fill out your profile, and build a resume. Do not miss that 10-day window, or your benefits will be suspended instantly. Once you're set up there, your regular routine is logging into the Uplink system. That's where you'll complete your weekly claim voucher, report any of those gross earnings, and certify your work searches.
And speaking of work searches, guys, you cannot brush this off. You are legally required to keep a super detailed log of your weekly job search activities. And you have to hang on to that log for 6 full months after the fact. Why? Because the DWD can audit you at any time. If they come knocking for your log and you don't have it, well, you're in a tough spot.
Which brings us to Section 4, Common Mistakes to Avoid.
The Uplink system is, let's say, very particular. Here's a massive pro tip. Never, ever use your internet browser's back button. Doing that can completely scramble your session. Always stick to the navigation menus built right into Uplink itself. Also, make sure you're using your mouse to actually click Next or Submit instead of just smacking the Enter key on your keyboard, which can fail to save your data. And please, take your time typing. Mixing up digits in your social security number or entering the wrong birthday can literally lock you out for good.
As for reporting income, some of the most common blunders are things like forgetting to report out-of-state wages. Yes, Indiana absolutely cross-checks records with other states. You also have to report any 1099 independent contractor work or self-employment cash. And don't forget, deductible income includes severance pay, vacation pay, and sick pay. And yep, it all has to be reported as a gross amount.
Let's look at Section 5, Consequences of Inaccurate Reporting.
If we look straight at the state's handbook, there's a really stark warning. Quote, if your record of work search activities cannot be readily verified by DWD when requested, weekly benefits could be withheld. End quote. They really do not mess around when it comes to verification.
So, the big takeaway here is that inaccurate reporting, whether it was a total accident or you did it on purpose, leads to overpayments. If you get money you weren't actually entitled to because of a reporting error, you are required by law to pay every cent of it back. And if the state decides you are intentionally committing fraud, you are looking at severe legal penalties, and you could strip your eligibility for future benefits entirely. No way is that worth the risk.
Finally, Section 6, Resources and Important Disclaimer.
Look, if you hit a wall, help is out there. You can handle almost everything at unemployment.in.gov, or you can call their support line at 1-800-891-6499. If you need face-to-face help, your local Work One centers are just incredible resources. And a quick tip on managing your finances right now, since UI is only a partial wage replacement, definitely use these resources to help explore part-time work and sit down to rebudget immediately based on your new, lower weekly amount. Seeing the official seal of the state of Indiana is a pretty potent reminder. When you interact with the uplink system, you are dealing directly with a government agency. These reporting rules aren't just casual suggestions. They are strict legal obligations bound by state law. And because of those legal obligations, it's really important to mention, this explainer is strictly for informational and educational purposes. Unemployment laws do change, so you should always consult the Indiana Department of Workforce Development or a legal professional for advice on your specific situation.
We've covered a lot of ground today, from strict calculations and the technical pitfalls of the uplink system to the heavy consequences of making a mistake. But the most important thing is, you now have the exact knowledge you need to get it right. So, are you ready to file your weekly voucher safely and accurately? Log on, report those gross earnings in the exact week you earned them, and protect your benefits. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep on learning.